Just a couple of days ago now, although much nicer weather than today, was Spectra's Analyst event. Now, what did I expect? I guess state of the tape industry, Spectra's progress, new products. What we got was something really surprising and potentially quite profound. So what follows are some video notes from the conference, and to kick things off with the market explanation is my colleague Jason Buffington.
When was the last time that you heard a backup software company talking about their latest tape features? Probably not in a very long time. They don't talk about how when they use tape that it's so durable, more durable perhaps than single spindle disk. They don't talk about the performance that a single backup server actually can't keep a tape drive going. They don't talk about the portability of their data using LTFS tapes. They don't talk about that stuff because for whatever reason, they don't seem to think that tape functionality with backup is interesting. All they want to talk about is cloud, and maybe that's a little premature in the conversation. In part it's because I think there's a stigma, because people keep thinking about old tape and not what's available today. Other part of the problem though is that when you think about the developers that software folks are hiring today, in many cases most of them actually can't spell SCSI, but they can all spell S3. So is cloud the answer? Is cloud going to be the tape killer because everyone wants to say, is tape dead or not? And the answer actually is no. According to ESG's research, average organization needs to store their data for at least 6+ years, many of them 11, 15, 25, or indefinitely. But the average backup as a service, the average cloud backup provider, stores their data for less than a year. That means there's a gap. If you're always going to have an on-premise disk solution for fast recovery, and your service provider is not going to store data for you as long as you'd like them to, you're still going to have tape, you're still going to have disk, it starts to make the question of where cloud fits a little bit more murky, a little bit more cloudy. Arguably, the whole idea of cloud-based backup, or cloud-based anything for that matter, is the premise, or maybe the promise, that those service providers can actually do something for you more at scale and cheaper than you could possibly do yourself. But if we're going to talk about storing data for 6, 10, 15, 25 years, and they have to do it at scale and for long periods of time, and they have to do it cheaper than what you can do it yourself, guess what? Even if you do get out of the tape handling business and not having cartridges in sight, chances are your service provider will. Those cartridges are still going to be there. It's just going to be provided by the service providers instead of being provided by you. The ecosystem wants to talk about S3. They want to talk about accessing via cloud type methods. But most people are still struggling with where tape should or should not fit within their overall data protection, backup, archiving infrastructure. So we got to cross a bridge and figure out how to get them together. And it turns out Spectra built the bridge. They took S3, something that most developers know how to work with, and they added sequential access methods and bulk access methods, the two things that tape need to work. And what they've come up with is DS3. And it's a way for technologies that know how to talk to S3 to leverage tape in new and interesting ways. That's going to be really cool to watch over 2014. Hats off to Spectra.
With that in mind, I then spoke to Molly Rector, Spectra's worldwide EVP of Product Management and Marketing, about what DS3 really is, and also its first implementation from Spectra, which is called Black Pearl. So she covered both what those two products are and why Spectra is doing them.
With DS3, we have introduced some new technology into the tape storage interface market by starting with the traditional S3 command set and adding in the capability to support two new features in addition to S3. The first one is sequential media, which is tape for us right now, and the second is portable media. So current S3 clients can now support DS3 with just a few changes, and this makes it possible to use tape in an entire new environment and add tiering into environments that currently don't have that option. Black Pearl is the first hardware appliance taking advantage of the new DS3, or Deep Storage Simple Services interface. And what DS3 is taking all those commands out of the storage environment, passing them off to the Black Pearl storage appliance, which does some clever things with the data. First, it acts as an SSD cache so that data can come into Black Pearl, and then it can take advantage of the speed, performance, capacity of the tape storage system by intelligently moving the data to the tape library. It also converts the data objects that are moved into DS3 into LTFS format to make it easy to read the tapes long-term, have self-describing formats, be able to move content between systems. And then it also does the media migration over the long term, so that when content that comes in LTO6 today needs to move to LTO7 or maybe to some sort of optical media in the future, the Black Pearl will automatically take care of that media migration as well. One of the big areas that really needed to be addressed was offering an interface to tape storage that could tie to web-based applications. And so what we really were looking at is the opportunity to move tape into storage environments where it doesn't exist today. We can now offer it in environments like Hadoop, web services, offering RESTful object-based storage to tape, so opening up a whole bunch of new markets for the tape storage market.
So that covers the products, but I also wanted to check with Molly how a relatively small, although recently very successful company like Spectra Logic could really change the industry.
Yeah, over the last several years, Spectra Logic has worked really hard to educate the market on the capabilities and the right usages for tape. With the introduction of DS3 and Black Pearl, we have a lot of really exciting ecosystem development to do in the future that is going to involve everything from helping end users create clients to move data to DS3, working with other partners and ISV providers to integrate an option to utilize the DS3 interface. And Spectra is going to be developing our own clients. This week we introduced a client to use DS3 within the Hadoop environment, making it possible to move Hadoop analytic data that's not currently in use off to deep storage. So there's going to be a lot of work ahead of us on how to get data to DS3 and building the ecosystem, but ultimately all this work is going to enable the new deep storage tier.
So what did I take away from the conference as a whole? Well, I think what we saw was the start of a change for Spectra from being to potentially the deep storage company. Now, what is deep storage? Tape itself was always and still is the cheapest place to store data long term. But cost is more than just where you put something. It's how much it costs to get it there. And with what Spectra is announcing here in terms of the restful, cloudy, webby way of getting data stored, don't forget, complexity and management costs money. So now they're taking that cost down as well as the cost of the actual media and storage. You put those two things together and deep storage really is a very attractive economic proposition. And it's economics that, after all, at the end of the day, rule everything that we do in storage. So, bottom line, I think deep storage is something that we're going to be talking about for a long time to come.